5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk with me through the cellar door.
A storm is coming, Francis.
A portal to a more skeptical world.
Cellar Door Skeptics begins right now. Prepare for the revolution with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna.
Oh, welcome to Cellar Door Skeptics. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We are a little lightheanded tonight. We had a couple of people out. They had some prior engagements and are not able to join us tonight. So it's just going to be Boyce and I. But that's okay, right? It's okay.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. It's okay that we do this just this way. Because without the two of us, sometimes I don't know if the show would run. Anyway, welcome to the Cellar Door Skeptics, episode 198. Tonight we will be continuing to do our look through the window at each one of the Democratic candidates. Tonight, and I'm going to probably butcher her name, Tulsi Gabbard is who we're going to be examining later on tonight.
Is it really that hard?
Some days it is, my friend. I don't know, man. I'm not good with names.
Fair enough.
And it is 10 o'clock, and you know how that goes.
Yes.
Anyway, we also have a couple of different world news things that we want to update everybody on, as well as a new vaccine that has just come out that or will be coming out that I wanted to talk about as well. But before we get into any of the episode, Boyce, how was your holiday?
Oh, nice and quiet. I had to work all weekend. And I don't have any family around here, so I actually went to my ex-wife's family's house and hung out with them for a while with the kids and stuff, and took them, I was over there with them, and that's about it. And just work.
Work.
That's it.
Yeah.
Man. And live.
You had what?
And some live streams, of course.
Some live stream. You do too many live streams someday. So
I
I get these notifications, and it'll be like, man, it's like 3 a.m, Boyce. What are you doing? Who live streams at 3 a.m? What are you doing, buddy?
In the morning, but
anyway, so that's good. I'm glad you had a quiet Thanksgiving. I had the week off of work, so it was very weird. I didn't have to work all week. I don't know how I'm going to go back to work tomorrow. I have to go back to Wisconsin, of course, but you know how it is. It's a I don't know. It's a fun and exciting journey that we get to be on. And Thanksgiving for me is always a love-hate relationship because we go to my family's house. It's always chaotic. I like going over there and seeing everybody, but at the exact same time, it drives my anxiety up, right? And then we also went up to the wife's mother's house, and we went and saw her, which was really nice. So I got 2 Thanksgiving meals. So basically, there was 2 days I had to not eat for the most part for the whole day. Otherwise, it's like you'll never eat half of the food that you make, And luckily, the second one we did a ham versus a turkey, so it was a lot less meat to take back home and box up later. So
yeah.
But anyway, enough with the Thanksgiving rhetoric. Tonight I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. So one of the things, and Boyce, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that's exciting about science, right, is when they develop new vaccines.
Hell yeah.
And what's that?
Save lives.
They do. And it's kind of funny because people want to complain about vaccines. People want to complain about all these different things. And to me, the big thing here is as long as science continues to innovate, I'll continue to be stimulated and want to, support and endorse it. And what do we have? And maybe this is a Michigan thing or a northern thing, but in Michigan, there is a lot of Lyme disease.
Yes.
And there was a article that came out that essentially talked about Lyme disease will be taking a vacation. So it's a Lyme vacation, right? Actually, it's not. I'm just joking. But the interesting part is that there is a huge risk, of Lyme disease and people getting Lyme disease inside of the United States. And in Michigan, especially during tick season, and you can attest to this, you kind of wonder, how are we going to, what are we going to do here? And if we have a risk area, right, where you're going to have the highest amount of Lyme disease, why would you not want to get vaccinated? And that's the fun thing, is that this came out earlier this week, and they have actually done human testing to help determine if this vaccine is going to be viable. And the funny thing is that this will come out by mid-2020, so I don't know if it's going to be able to hit before Lyme disease kicks in, right? Because I believe in it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Lyme disease starts to pick up, around June, right when it starts to get warmer out. The ticks start coming out.
Yeah, late spring.
Yeah. So this might not hit us. This may not still be in time, but if you actually look at it, how many people, boys, do you know how many people have died from Lyme disease?
Oh, no. No idea.
Take a guess.
Like ever?
No, just how about last year?
Last year, I'd probably say a couple thousand, maybe. If I was to guess.
All right. That's a good. What's that?
Is that a bad guess?
Yeah, so that's a little high. that's a little high.
Lyme disease.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at, I think it's like more closer to like 34, 40 deaths. Right.
Oh, geez. Oh, okay.
So again, it's not as high as, as you think, a couple thousand. That would be insane, man. That would be an insane amount of deaths. But the exciting thing here with that is this is a vaccine that was created by Mass Biologics. That's the name of the company. They are a publicly funded nonprofit developing this specific injection. So this injection is not going to be something that people have to worry about making, where you're going to actually have to make a whole bunch of money off of it, right? So they're actually not selling it to the public to the point where they're going to be profitable for it. And that's the most amazing thing about this, is because when we look at like what's going to happen with the AIDS, vaccine that's rumored to come out, people are going to want to profit off this stuff. And while I don't disagree that at some point we got to recoup costs for the vaccination, if you look at what the people creating the vaccination, people doing the research, the scientists involved in it, and the cost of it, what seriously do they really need to make on it to recover these costs, to go forward in the future?
Well, considering the taxpayers are the ones that actually fund the most research into this science, and then the private industry gets to patent it, and we get nothing out of it as an investor, as a taxpayer, it's bullshit.
Exactly. And Hannah and I actually did a episode on that about 6-7 months ago, where we talked about that specific issue. What it because essentially what you're talking about is it's the base side to this equation here, and that there's so many of these simple improvements that have been made through science, through taxpayer funds, and then people like Apple, for example, go and take it and capitalize on it, and they make millions and billions of dollars off of some small type of technology. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting to hear that this is not going to be coming through big pharma. Whether you believe in big pharma or not, it's nice that it's not going through it. And this specific company is actually celebrating its 125th anniversary. That's crazy, right? 125 years.
Wow.
They've been doing some sort of research into vaccines.
Mass Biologics.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. And considering they have no name recognitions, I never heard of them.
I've never heard of them either. And maybe it's because we're not from Europe, right? It's a French company actually. So it's not an American company.
I thought like Massachusetts.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We can look it up. It's a French company though.
Okay, yeah, French it is.
Yeah. Now they do say that they hope it will be available in 2023, right? And so that was a disappointing part. But at the exact same time, they did say that they are hoping it could become available as early as this summer. So they are working with the FDA to determine, through human clinical trials that will begin testing in June. So again, I don't know how long it takes, honestly, for vaccinations to get in and out. No idea. But I can tell you that if they start it, the nice thing will be is if they can get this pushed through the FDA faster. Again, I guess, do we really need to worry about 34 deaths? It's probably not the biggest, critical issue in the world. But at the exact same time, it would be nice to be able to help put another vaccination on the shelf. Because again, what happens if this spreads somewhere else? What happens if they, if the actual disease, gets worse? And I could tell you, what I tell my kids when there's long grass, hey, go cut your grass. And last year was a bad year. My son hated it. He had to cut the grass twice a week just because we were that worried about, Lyme disease and ticks and stuff like that.
Well, and like with Lyme disease specifically, it's not just about human deaths that are being saved, also animals that, are, well, I wonder if that can be used for the animals then.
Yes, they actually were testing on animals beforehand.
I've had a dog die, my old black lab, Mickey, died from complications from Lyme disease.
Yep.
Yeah, so we could save a lot of suffering in animals as well. That's something I would like to see. Not just about humans. We could save more suffering. So even like who is this one person? There's one lady that had Lyme disease that it's a really a long, arduous recovery too. It's not fun.
No, and it's kind of funny. I actually had a friend who had Lyme disease. Like he actually got Lyme disease, weirdly enough. Now he didn't get super sick. They caught it right away. But still, isn't that crazy? Like you don't usually hear a lot about it. You hear that, there's a big scare. Everybody's coming around. But do we ever hear specifically that, Lyme disease is this big thing other than a scare tactic? And, one of the big things here is to understand that it's not this big, scary development, and that, it can be a treatable cause. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited.
It's advancement. Well, like you're saying too, I think you should also talk about is the mutation. So if we get a vaccine for what it is today, it might be easier if it mutates to be in a better position. Because what if it starts attacking your retina? You never know. You can go blind.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have no idea what could happen if that's the case, right?
Yeah. You're at least in a better position scientifically to address it when it comes to the next mutation or whatever.
True. So anyway, I thought that was an exciting development, and I was very excited to read about it this week. Another thing, kind of moving into more world news, and the reason I wanted to go into this is because I think some of these things may not directly affect us per se, but they're things that we should be watching out for. And Hannah and I did a segment, again, about 5 months ago, talking about China and talking a lot about what happens when they start requiring people to have face recognition, right? They're looking at face recognition. They're looking at, what do we do here, folks? How do we get everybody, Big Brother to watch us? And there's been big uprising in China over this.
Yes.
Well, there's been a new development. China has introduced face scans for mobile users, right? So this is nothing new. I mean, if you have an iPhone, you probably have face scan technology if you have one of the newer ones. And I don't know if you have an iPhone or not, Boyce.
No, I have a Samsung S10 Plus.
Does that phone have face recognition, or do you know a Samsung even has that?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yep. I can just look at it and it unlocks.
Yeah. But the different step here is that they're saying that they are now requiring to have faces scanned when registering a new mobile device. So think of it this way. If you, and again, this is black market, but let's say I have a friend that wants to stay off the grid. He doesn't own a smartphone for one specific reason, because he wants the government to not know anything about him in any way, shape, or form, right? And the idea here is China's now going to the opposite side, and they're saying, hey, look at this new regulation that they put into place, and guess what? Now they're going to start requiring facial recognition technology to survey the population. And Hannah and I talked about, is this a misleader? Is this something from 1984, that we should be, seriously worried about?
Right. Well, and not just that, think about it from the totalitarian, authoritarian position of social media and cyber regulations. They could be like, okay, you can only sign in as you. You can't have any fake accounts. It's just you. And if you say something against the government, your ass is grass.
Yeah. And how scary is that?
Significantly scary.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. You know, everybody on the show that listens to it should know that. But this is a little borderline scary to me. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because with this type of technology, as much as our commander-in-chief hates China, it almost seems like at some point he just may adopt some of these different things, right?
Oh, yeah. I could see him totally loving this.
Yeah. Think about it. You would say something negative against Trump, boom. He likes to call it fake news. Well, soon he'll be able to just say, hey, look, we scanned it facially. We know who said it. Go after him.
Gestapo.
Yeah. And I don't think that, I don't know if China's going to use that, right? I don't know.
But
so they're saying the rules are when signing into a new mobile device, people already are required to show their national ID. And I don't think that's anything new because we have that here, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have their picture taken. I don't have AT&T does not have my picture, but they do technically have a copy of my ID, right?
Well, they have your ID, but they also have access to the program that probably sells your facial scan through your phone. Third party.
That's true. Yeah, they probably have that as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I see that thing about the police has a monitor citizens by app.
Exactly. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I don't like that.
So, and this is all coming from what they call the Ministry of Industry and Info Technology as a way to strengthen their system and ensure that the government can identify all mobile phone users. Most Chinese internet users access the web via their phones, which I think that's true in America too. I mean, again, you and I may be in a different commodity here, right? Because we're podcasters and YouTubers and things like that. So maybe we're a different commodity. But for the most part, people use their phone. I mean, my wife watches shows on her phone. My kids watch shows on their iPads. And just the ability for them to be able to know it's you, know exactly what you're watching, and then be able to identify you and say, and basically tell you that if you don't have this, you no longer can be, you no longer can be part of the internet. That's pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, like, imagine committing a crime in China. They're gonna know everything so quickly. That where were you? Well, actually, we have your app shows you a GPS at this location at this time. I think you killed that person. You're seeing this and that. You know what I mean? Like what's that one show called where they can predict murder in the future?
Oh, man, I don't remember now. What is it?
I don't know.
I know what you're talking about too, and is it Born Identity?
No, that's that. No. That's that. What the hell's his name? The guy from Good Will Hunting movie. That's
Matt Damon.
I think it's Keanu Reeves is where you can see the future of what you think you're gonna do. It's kind of like an algorithm. I can't remember what the hell it's called. I love that movie though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'll have to look it up.
So actually, it was more like as Batman, The Dark Knight, when Alfred gets, or not Alfred, but the Samuel, what the hell's his name? Morgan Freeman gets mad at him for using all the cell towers and the internet to locate people and listen to all the messages going on. It's kind of like that.
Exactly. Yes, and that technology, when you see that's pretty scary. And to think about it, Batman's a vigilante. He's the good guy, but he has the ability to do that. Well, that's all China's claiming is we're the good guy. If you actually look at that article, that's, people are like, oh, it's not a big deal because it's China.
We're going to protect you.
Trust me. We're going to protect you, but at what cost?
In the comments section, Corey says Minority Report.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Corey,
thank you, Corey.
Guy's Beak.
Yes.
Guy's Beak. Okay.
Yeah.
One of your
Guy's Beak. Yep.
There you go.
He used to play in their side tangent. We used to play in a band together. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah, well, that's back in the church days.
Oh, a church band. What'd you play?
I played trombone. We were a ska band.
I thought you were gonna be a tambourine because you have no rhythm.
No, fuck you. Jesus Christ. I can't sing. I don't have rhythm, dude. Corey was a rhythm guy, not me. You want to know what the name of the band was too?
Oh Lord. This Little Light of Mine or some shit.
Empty Hand.
Oh, the hole in it.
No, not the hole in it. We're not. You're really detracting. We're gonna go away from that.
My bad.
But anyway, yeah, it was a ska band. There's an episode I can't remember. I actually reconnected with the lead singer, the guy who started the band, Matt Chapman, on a couple of our shows. I don't know. It's got to been over a year ago now, I think. And anyway, him and I reconnected. And we actually talked about the good old days.
The good old days of ska.
Yeah,
ska.
I do still listen to ska, just so you know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Not the same ska I used to listen to. New ska, but anyway, you're detracting us. Back to let's go back to the widespread dilemma, right? So so they're using the facial recognition in China, and again, I'm pretty liberal. I mean, everybody listening to the show knows I'm pretty liberal. I'm pretty on the left, but to me, this almost seems just too far, right? To me, this just seems like a too far of an encroachment on people's personal rights. And they have surveillance cameras, and that's what Hannah and I talked about like 5 months ago, was the facial cameras that can recognize you, and that's scary at that. But now that your phone can recognize you, and they're telling you can't have anything, you can't have internet access without a phone,
right?
Like, that's crazy to me.
You're Stone Age again, man.
Yeah, and that just seems very, very, very improper.
Well, I think we have the same problem with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You got to check yes. You got to accept the terms, or you don't. Then you're off the program. They have those things that I don't think is it's pretty authoritarian. That's how they are. Your data.
Yeah, that's true. And what are people going to do? At some point, we got to figure out whether we're going to rebel against this or how to stop some of this. And I don't know if we can do that or not.
Well, we're definitely at one of those points of this is a major dilemma for us as well in our country to say what side of the history we're going to be on here. Are we going to be the rebels, or are we going to be the
empire?
The empire, yeah, man. Like, who are we going to be?
But the empire started out good, though. Now we're going to go on a whole Star Wars tangent.
Man.
I've been watching the Clone Wars with my son lately, so.
Well, I just caught up on The Mandalorian. I watched the episode Friday night. I couldn't go to bed without watching that. I stayed up late Friday watching that. I love it.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't tell my son, but I watched it without him because he said he'd go to bed at 9:30. So it dropped. I watched it.
Yeah, no kidding. I love that show. I should do a whole episode just on that.
Oh, let me know. I will happily join you. That's one of my favorite as well.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, moving on to the next topic. And again, this is another world news thing, and I thought this was kind of relevant, because of the fact that there is a lot of people that are not very excited about the Trump barter or the Trump tariffs, right? So there's a lot of people that are complaining about it. A lot of people think that Trump tariffs are something that will affect our nation, and I agree. I think it does quite a bit. So I did not know this. So this is new. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because this is new, and maybe you've heard of this, but I did not know that there's other European countries that have formed something called in-stex barter mechanism.
Yep, sidestepping.
To sidestep the design of the U.S. sanctions.
That's a big FU to Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I'll be honest again, and maybe this is my bad for not being informed, but I was like, holy crap, I did not know any of these things were happening. No, but I guess what's happened is they now have the shareholders of this, and they call it the Instrument in Support of Trade Exchanges. France, Germany, and the UK are welcoming Belgium, Denmark, and Finland, and the Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden to join as shareholders, right? And again, this is another Paris-based, function here. But essentially, they want to allow Iran to continue to sell oil and import other products or services in exchange. Now, let's stop for a second here and talk a little bit about that, right? Because the big question, boys, is so they're doing it with Iran for oil.
Yeah,
I get that,
and imports from their country too,
and imports from their country. So, which do you think is honestly the greater part of it, though?
Well, it's got to be the oil.
Okay, so let's be honest. Let's be frank and honest.
Yeah, it's
right?
not about pudding.
It's not about pudding. What else does France export? What do they export? They're baguettes. It's not about a French baguette. Yeah. it's and this is the only problem. And I will be honest. I'll be a little critical here, just for the pure fact that I'm going to say is, hey, hold on a second. They want to form this to get around this oil sanctions and things like that. But are they doing it because they're against what Trump's doing, or are they doing it for personal self-gain?
Well, is it a U.S. sanction or is it a NATO sanction?
The way the article makes it sound is it's U.S. sanctions.
So what's it got to do with them? That's my other question is, the U.S. shouldn't be deciding other people's policies. If they are good with it, that's on them.
Fair
I wonder
enough.
about that. I don't know if a U.S. sanction is something that's sanctioned by us and approved by NATO that we're all supposed to fall in line with other countries. I don't know how that works, honestly.
And I don't either. And maybe this was a bad segment for that aspect, but but we've pulled out of different deals. We've had, essentially we had a whole way that we were trying to work with Iran, and now we're just walking away with it. And I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm more skeptical about them wanting to walk away than I am about specifically these 6 countries joining together. Right?
I think they just want to keep status quo when it comes to their oil prices to stabilize their economy and shit, probably to keep things level.
Yep. And the criticism comes because some of it is Obama struck the Iran deal, right? He's the one that originally struck the Iran deal. Trump came in and said, I'm going to repeal it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into why Trump doesn't like it, why the Republicans have a problem. We're not going to go into any of that. That's a whole side tangent for another episode. It's kind of like the empty hand discussion, that at some point maybe we'll have. But but the thing here is, and this is where I become a little bit more skeptical again about this, is I'm saying is, hey, hold on. I get it. This is great that people want to, protest Trump and saying, hey, the U.S. shouldn't dictate global customs. I agree. That's what the UN's for. 100% agree with that. Mm-hmm. But at some point, how do we all get everybody on the same page? And if these countries are doing it as a self-serving, functionality inside of there, I have a problem with that. I flat out, I do. And maybe this is just, a privileged American saying this, but I have a big problem with people trying to sidestep this whole, this whole Trump thing because of the fact, that they are going to lose money or their costs are going to go up. Well, and if we're going to be against things, let's be against things on principle. Let's go after things based on a principle. But if we're going to go do this and then all of a sudden it's like, well, it benefits us. I mean, come on, folks. Like, what does this look like? You tell me, seriously, tell me what that looks like.
Well, it looks like they don't like Trump upsetting the apple cart that's keeping their money flowing and their oil influence, to say this is our bloodline, for our economy.
Yeah. And all right, fine. Don't disagree to some extent, right? Mm-hmm. I don't disagree that maybe the United States shouldn't be able to do that. But again, man, come on. Like, let's.
It could be a front. Is what I'm saying. They could just be using that to say it's all about our economy, and it's really about power.
Fair enough.
And influence. This perception versus reality.
Yep. And I think that maybe that's what it is. But again, and maybe this article is a little biased, but I thought it was interesting enough to talk about because as we get into our discussion about the Democratic candidates, right? When we get into this. Mm-hmm. We have to make a decision on which candidate we're going to support because how are these candidates going to actually deal with this? And I think that's a good segue into discussing the candidate we're going to talk about tonight because, and you could, how do you say her name?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi, Talissa. Why do I say Talissa? I don't, it sounds better.
You're adding letters and consonants.
So Tulsi, it has dictated and discussed a very, very, very big point about, getting out of other countries and actually maintaining a specific, non-alliance and non-interference with any other countries, right?
Regime change is what
there you go.
We should be doing is regime change wars.
Yes. And and that's to me that's the big part here, right? Is I agree with you I'm actually a big non-interventionalist, interventionalist. There you go. I don't know how to say that word either, I guess.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Well done.
There you go. But that, that's a big thing for me too, boys, is I look at that and I say, hey, hold on a second. Like I want to get out. And, I've been very critical to some extent of Tulsi specifically, and that's, to me, the big question here comes into, okay, let's examine what her policies are and let's examine exactly what she stands for and some of her past. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with you boys, because you actually have a little bit of personal, you've dealt with her specifically, and you've spent time supporting her campaign a little bit. So why don't you go through a little bit of your history and what you know about her?
Well, I've actually been very involved with her supporters, her volunteers that we see out there when we're doing our stuff, supporting. It's also, talking to other people, the other people that are volunteering for her as well. And they understand, because we have a bond, like the Yang Gang and the Tulsi people have a common thread of being disregarded by mainstream media because we're anti-establishment. So I'm a little sympathetic to their plight. But her as a candidate, I like her as a candidate as far as me being a veteran, her being a veteran, and her actually performing her duty still to this day as a veteran, as an active reservist. And she has a little bit of firsthand experience, being she's a combat veteran too, in the medic department. So I find her to be credible and speaking from a point of experience. But as far as her regime, her non-interventionalist regime change wars, that's her big thing. That's her main topic, is we need to stop wasting lives and money in wars that we create worse outcomes, like, ISIS came from Al-Qaeda, because we went in and removed Saddam Hussein, and that destabilized. We removed Gaddafi. He was murdered in the streets by the people, which is, somewhat entertaining to me back then. Honestly, I was like, well, I was morbidly curious. I was like, whoa, they're really going to beat the shit out of him. And they really did. But so I agree with her point of view of look what we did. We created worse human rights violations by, not violations, but possibilities for the new person to come up that's going to take the same spot and do something even more inhumane or something, I guess you'd say. So I agree with that strategy militarily, to say we should be going there to prevent more suffering, not create a worse environment. And hindsight's always 2020 when it comes to stuff like that too, because we didn't know, nobody knew, but we shouldn't have been in Iraq. There was no weapons of mass destruction. Hindsight's 2020. So we've been here. Vietnam. What happened in Vietnam? Nothing. Tens of thousands of people died for no good reason, really, for the cameras. And then we leave and nothing. It goes right back to where it was. And we intervened in the Korean War, and we created the Kim Jong-un dynasty. We put them in place. And now look what they are. They're the biggest enemy we got. One of the biggest enemies we got. ISIS is from Al-Qaeda because of all the things we did there. And same thing in South America right now, where we've had a whole country implode financially because of 1,000% inflation. And I think it's was it Argentina or
Venezuela?
Oh, all the refugees are coming. Venezuela.
Yep, Venezuela.
Yeah. So we've been intervening in some places that it's all about oil. We didn't care about Venezuela till they hit some oil. And then all of a sudden we want to take control and, lobby a little bit and say, well, we'll overthrow the regime and you're going to be in charge, but you're going to make sure we're the ones that get the only access to your oil fields, our refineries or something, And so I agree with her on those points. I don't know much else about her platform except for that. And she wants more regulation on Facebook and Twitter and stuff for, spreading false advertising, as you call it, or smear campaigns or negative ads. Mm-hmm. That's two of her bigger ones, and she likes Medicare for all, but I'm not sure what her
policy is.
I think she supports Bernie, when it comes to that, because she's been a Bernie supporter which I also like her because she stepped down from her vice chair of the DNC against Hillary Clinton to become to outwardly support Bernie, which I think she deserves a lot of credit for that too, but it doesn't change what it's on. I don't agree with all of her policies. So,
all right. Well, before we get into her policies,
mm-hmm.
I wanted to play a quick video, and it's only because we have this service that we can do this. But I want to play a real quick video, where she was interviewed by CNN.
Yep, Van Jones,
great queen of the Democratic Party establishment, and you threw that away.
Tulsi Gabbard, the Hawaii Democrat and DNC vice chair, disinvited from the Democratic debate,
has been at odds with her boss, DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, for months over the Democratic presidential debate schedule.
You were also quoted as saying, when I signed up to be vice chair of the DNC, no one told me I would be relinquishing my freedom of speech.
I am resigning from the DNC.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard sent shockwaves through the political world yesterday when she stepped down as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee.
I am truly honored to nominate Bernie Sanders for president of the United States.
I'm challenging the establishment, challenging the status quo. Today, I announce my candidacy for president of the United States of America.
You have faced some really harsh criticism from fellow Democrats.
This war with Iran would be far more devastating than anything that we ever saw in Iraq.
Why were you the lone voice out there going after the neocons?
She won a number of online polls. She became the top trending candidate on Google.
She has reached well over the 130,000 individual donor threshold.
She's been dismissed and otherized by a media that seems unable to grapple with a servicewoman who dares question the bipartisan war consensus.
Tulsi Gabbard, who has 23 polls above 2%, and the DNC looking at that list and saying, yeah, but only one of these qualifies.
There is nothing more powerful than when we, the people, rise up united by our love for this country and our love for each other to bring about the kind of change in leadership that we need to bring.
So I think that's interesting, right? I do think that's interesting. And I guess I'll be honest, I've been very critical of her past.
Yeah, well, she has some critical things. She has some things in her past to be critical of, which I also was too, about her anti-LGBTQ stuff when she was first in office and all that stuff. Yeah.
And you know, so I've been critical for a couple of reasons. You know, that was one of them. You know, there's a couple other things, and I guess we'll get into my criticism of her a little bit later, right? You know, like I don't know if it's fair to jump into this right now. I think we should examine some of her policies first. So what policy do you want to jump into first?
Here, I'm gonna pull up her website real quick, and let's see what I like to look at their top 3, their homepage, to see what the big push is. So on her website, it says first and foremost, in regime change wars. And then the second one says in the new Cold War and nuclear arms race with Russia and China. And then invest in the needs of the American people. I guess that's a little bit of a climate change type of thing about making clean air, water, and safer infrastructure.
Yeah. So let's go with in the regime change war first, yes. Right? Let's look at that first, right?
Gotcha.
So, you know, so essentially, and they have another movie. We're not going to play it. No.
Yeah, another video.
I've had enough of the videos, so let's actually talk through this. So she's talking about toppling foreign governments that we don't like. That's something America has done, and there's reasons why America has done these things, right? They have, and you know, again, we talked a few minutes ago, right, about the European countries getting into this whole, you know, thing, and right. they could be doing it for personal reasons. I could tell you for a fact the U.S. gets involved in this stuff for personal reasons. Wow. We are not the humanitarians we claim to be, no. You know, and especially since 9/11 has happened, we are definitely not the humanitarians we've claimed to be. No. And you know, for me, the big thing here is this actually, honestly, this hits home a lot more. And this is one of the things that a lot of people were drawn to Trump for, because at first Trump was very anti-war, very anti-interventionist. Yeah. You know, he came out as that candidate. Now, I could tell you, what has he done for that?
He pulled out of, was it Saudi or where the hell?
Iran.
Iran.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Syria.
Syria. There we go. Yeah, he just yanked them out of Syria and left those people to be slaughtered.
Yeah.
I agree with leaving Syria. I just don't agree with leaving the people that helped us fight in Syria on their own without any warning.
And actually, make a note.
Mhm.
We'll come back to that
Okay.
because I actually looked into what Tulsi decided to say about it, right?
Mhm.
Because technically what Trump did was anti-interventionalist to some extent, right? He's saying, I'm going to get out. He didn't do it correctly, in my opinion, but he wanted to get out. So, it'd be interesting to hear what other candidates, say about that.
Yeah.
And so tonight, the candidate obviously is Tulsi. And so, again, let's go back to the policy. She wants to end wasteful spending in different wars, right? She wants to stop fighting for peace. Or not stop fighting for peace, but stop fighting for ridiculous things. So she says that she has a resolution that if the president initiates war without prior congressional declarations, such action shall constitute impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors, which shall cause the House of Representatives to vote against or vote for articles of impeachment. That's actually something I heavily support because one of the big problems I have with that executive power, right, is that a president can send us to war without any other reason.
Which isn't constitutional.
Yeah.
Only Congress can declare war. And yet here we are. Bush did it. Find me some weapons, boy.
Yeah. And we all know what happened with that. Everybody, even those watching, people are probably on other sides of the fence, whether that was correct or not, whether we should have done that or not. But I could tell you right now that they did not find anything in Saudi Arabia. And we eventually moved back to Afghanistan, right? And that's the big thing here. That her next thing is she wants to stop arming terrorists. She wants to stop and prohibit federal agencies from funding, different types of assistance to some of these other, countries.
Mm-hmm.
I actually support that as well, right?
I agree with those so far, definitely.
Yeah. She also wants to establish the policy of the United States regarding the no first use of nuclear weapons.
Definitely agree with that.
Yep, I agree 100% with that too.
Yeah.
I don't know how unique that is to her, but I will definitely say that that's 100% something I support. If we should actually, as a nation, be figuring out how to disarm. That's what we should be doing.
She's one of the only ones introducing legislation.
Yeah. She also wants to prohibit the Defense Department from using
funds. What good
funds.
can come from it?
What's that?
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that what benefit is it that we get from a nuclear weapon, really? Like, if we all got rid of them, we're still even. As far as that goes, like if we just disarm the entire world of nuclear weapons, shoot the some bitches out in space and be done with it. Just be like, okay, guys, we just can't go there again. But it's hard to let the toothpaste out of the tube,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't know. I agree, I actually agree with that. She also wants to prohibit the Department of Defense from using funds to test, procure, or field any missile that would be prohibited under the treaty between the U.S. and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So she wants to go a step further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wants to be specific to Russia too.
Yes, which I thought was kind of interesting, because a lot of people have accused her and basically said that Russia, has tried to back her. Clinton came out and basically insinuated that Tulsi is a gimmick of Russia. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Asset. Yeah. A Russian asset.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. Her next point that she has in here is she wants to talk about an alternative to diplomacy, is war. And she says that, she will talk to brutal dictators anywhere. And she does have that has happened. She's actually gone out to a dictator and had that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
prevent war.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little torn on that one, and I think we'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
I think. So. I don't know if we need to go into end the new Cold War nuclear arms race. I think we've kind of covered that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, we can look at it. She says we're short-sighted, self-serving leaders in the grip of military-industrial complex have brought us a new Cold War and nuclear arms race with China and Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with her 100% on that. I think there's other countries that have done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is those are the only two countries that is there, but I don't know if I feel that we're that close to imploding.
No, I think she's just highlighting the ones that pose the most danger, the biggest threat. Russia and China as far as their capabilities with nuclear subs that could be here in about a week.
That's true.
They could just pop up off the shore and just blow us to high hell really quickly.
Yeah. So I don't know. So there's that one.
Mm-hmm.
The next issue is invest in the needs of the American people. So let's look at that. So what she's saying is she's claiming she's going to be our voice. She's going to be an end to failed policy of being the world police. I agree with that, right? Again, this all feels like different aspects of the first thing.
Definitely.
I don't know. So what she's going to do is I think this is a little convoluted. And I think you mentioned this earlier. You didn't really know what this is. I mean, she wants, to stop wasting money on regime change, on war, on weapons. I agree with her, but really what else? I mean, if that's all you're going to stand on, I got a problem with that too.
That's just lip service. Then it just needs what else? Like shit. That can't be it.
Exactly. So what she's now saying also inside of here is that she's going to stand up against big pharma and insurance companies. All right. I think that's fair. There's corruption in there. That's the same thing that we've heard from Bernie. And then she also says that she's going to fight for American to get quality health insurance through Medicare for all. So she wants to require the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to meet statutory purpose. She wants to raise the wages to get minimum wage raised. She wants to end mass collection of America's phone records. And I agree 100% with that.
That's an act. That's actually part of the Counterterrorism Act.
Yes. So she's going to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
I support that 100%.
1,000% for sure.
Yeah. Wait, how many phone numbers have we gotten from that we've actually been able to, stabilize on or do anything with? Come on. I mean, how many terrorist attacks have we prevented because of it? Why don't you publish that effing, statistic here?
Yes.
She wants to repeal certain provisions of the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act and revive the separation between commercial banking and the securities business in the manner of the Banking Act from 1933 or the Glass-Steagall. Steagall? Is it Steagall or Siegel?
Steagall. Glass-Steagall Act.
And this is something Bernie talked about, right?
Yep. This is a good policy. I like that. They got rid of it because they want to have more access without, with banking and security getting cozied up again.
Yeah. Which I think is good. Again, we go back to this is similar to Bernie. We're hearing very similar traits. And I guess, we heard earlier she supported Bernie. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think that's a surprise.
She's very, very similar to Bernie when it comes right down to it. She's just a little more aggressive with her anti-establishment, which Bernie is very anti-establishment too,
Yeah. Now, this video I do want to play because our podcast has tackled healthcare a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I could go back and talk about healthcare and how it affects the United States so much. And we could go back and count up and probably 20% of our podcasts mention healthcare, if not more. And at least 10% have had a segment where we've dealt with it.
Right.
So I think this is one I want to dive a little bit more into. So here is her little tidbit of what she has to say.
Caring about and for our fellow Americans is the highest form of patriotism. So as president, I will not tolerate big pharma ripping off the American people, families going broke because of medical bills, or seniors who have to choose between paying for food or medicine.
All right. Not very informational.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple. So let's go down to her legislation. So, and again, I'm going to be a little critical here and say, hey, where's your act? You know, show me the actual document that you want to propose. You know, she has one out there where she's going to co-sponsor the HR 1384 Medicare Act for All, which will provide universal health care to all Americans. I think that's good, right?
It's a good start.
Yep. She wants to provide prescription drug price relief. That's very good. You know, again, another thing that we're hearing, you know, quite a bit about. She wants to create a drug price negotiation act, you know, to help with the Social Security Act to provide the negotiation to lower covered Part D drug prices. Very good. She wants to expand and improve Medicaid for all. She doesn't explain how. And she wants to provide affordable and safe prescription drug importance act, right?
Importation,
sorry.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I'm a little confused here what she wants to accomplish and what she doesn't want to accomplish. You know, I don't know. You tell me, you know, boys, what have you heard, you know, when you met her and did all these other things, you know, did this come up? Is this a big thing that she's been preaching on her campaign? Or is she just really an anti-interventionalist?
She honestly, when I hear her stump speech in person, it's mostly about anti-interventionist regime change wars, and then the anti-establishment of the corporate Democrats and Republicans, the corporate lobbyists, and money in politics. She's very anti-establishment and anti-lobbyist. That's her biggest thing. She hits home, and she kind of drives the fact home as to why are they so scared of me? You know, and like, just like it's, and without saying it, it's the same reasons they didn't like Bernie. Is he's going to upset the apple cart as far as their pro-war, because Democrats and Republicans both voted to go to war. You know, when it comes to Iraq and whatnot, and so I haven't heard her talk much about drug prices and Medicare for all. Honestly, I didn't know what her position was.
Yeah,
that's just for being in person.
Yep. And I'll be honest, this is where I get a little bit more concerned, just to say, what is your policy? Show us what it is, because this is a big contender. And, you know, like, if and again, this is my opinion, if she can come out and come somewhere in between even a Warren or Bernie and, you know, like a Pete Buttigieg, right? Or an Andrew Yang who wants to keep the policy open. If she can come somewhere in between there, I actually think that she could be a bigger contender than she is now. And I think she's missing a huge opportunity here. This is an opportunity where she can come out and say, hey, look, folks, I can do this. I can help with the Medicare for all. And look, I'm going to be an anti-interventionalist, which if you look at a lot of Americans on the fence, a lot of people say that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for example, you know, Andrew Klein, who's been very critical of our show in the past, you know, he's saying I would vote for her as a Democrat. And, you know, we have to have that conversation honestly. We have to honestly, openly talk about, is it beneficial to elect somebody that may not fit 100% of our requirements if it means more of those on the fence voters would vote for her?
Well, that's the thing where when you go, let's compare Bernie to Tulsi. They're both saying the same things, just in a different way.
Yeah.
He's just the old white guy. She's the young minority Hindu elected Hawaiian.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same policies. Medicare for all, prescription drug prices, anti-war, anti-corruption, broad strokes, very, very similar policies. She's just a young female person of color that checks off these identity politics boxes. But she also fucking pissed off the DNC. And
She did.
And Bernie puts an I next to his name, not a D. So that's the only difference. She didn't just say, I'm not a Democrat. She's saying, screw the Democrats. I'm stepping up for Bernie, and I'm going to step down and expose them. So I think she made herself harder to elect with the DNC because she exposed them for what they are, as being corrupt, corporatist, pro-war, lobbyists, money-taking fools. Just I have a real problem with the organization as a whole.
Yeah,
she does too, and so does Bernie. So she checks off the same boxes as Bernie. She's very similar to Bernie. She's just a younger, pretty female veteran. See, that's the only difference between her and Bernie is that she's a vet, and so she has a little bit of clout in that community. She could get some more votes to come that way. Maybe veterans and some more Republicans and libertarians would come her way, make her a little more electable against Trump specifically.
Yeah. And so, and that's the question, again, we go back to, and I think we need to go back and address the corruption thing in a minute, because I think that's something Hillary has actually latched onto and aggressively gone after her for whatever reason. And like somebody wants to go, damn it, Hillary, like, are you going to jump back in or not? Jump back in or get out. I don't care what you're going to do, but you need to get in or out. And this time, at this current time, there's so many other candidates that are better than you. Like, I mean, yeah, hands down, folks. Why come aboard? And it will demonstrate, the DNC corruption off the charts here. Yeah, I mean, and I'm a conservative, quotation quotes, when it comes to DNC corruption, right? I'm probably not as aggressive in that manner as maybe you are. But my big question here becomes is if Hillary jumps in, what does that do for everything? And I don't think she will. I think it's just, her trying to help other candidates out and get rid of some of these other candidates. But I'm saying is, Hillary, you attacking Tulsi, it doesn't do any good to me. Like, go ahead, attack her all you want. Like I don't care.
Well, it only helped Tulsi.
Yeah. And so the big question is that I'm going to pose here, and I'll post to anybody. You can email us. Maybe I'll put a Facebook poll up. I don't know. If you're on the fence, is Tulsi the biggest on the fence candidate that people support? Right? If this means, and we talked about this before, like Trump came in as an outsider candidate.
Yeah.
Is Tulsi the biggest outsider candidate? What do you feel, boys?
Well, outsider candidates, I still think is Bernie, Tulsi, and Yang. They're three of the. Well, Bernie's got a longer history in politics, so he's not as far as an outsider. As far as he has a shit ton of experience. So he has experience, but he's also still considered an outsider because he's never really went with the status quo, with the corporate model of the Democratic Party. So he's seen as an outsider just with a shit ton of experience. Tulsi's an outsider because she chose to be. I say that loosely because I don't think she chose it. She just chose to do what she thought was right for Bernie, which I agree with her for stepping up for him in 2016. But as far as, so there's three real outsider candidates. The rest are just rich billionaires that are jumping in late, and senators and Congress people or whatever, mayors like Mayor Pete, that are anti-establishment. Those are the three big ones. Can you think of any others that are anti-establishment like Bernie, Tulsi, and Andrew?
No, honestly, no, because maybe Andrew fits that anti-establishment thing.
Oh, big time.
He falls more into that category, I think, than even Warren does. And I'll be honest, I think Bernie toes that line, man. I think, especially now, I think he's toeing that line a little bit more than I feel is comfortable. And again, I'll support Bernie 100%. Across the board for the most part. Again, he checks more boxes for me. But again, we talk about Tulsi, and she's apologized for her past. And Tulsi, sorry, I caught that.
I let it go. I was like, Tulisa, that's cool.
Damn it, Tulsi. It's Tulsi. I don't even know where I got that name. I don't even know what Tulsi. But anyway, the problem, and again, the bigger problem becomes too is she checks a couple other boxes too, right? She is, she's very anti-interventionist, which is what a lot of people were looking for in Trump. A lot of people were looking for that outsider candidate that's like, hey, hold on a second, folks. How do we not be like everybody else, right? How do we not be the world power? Right. I would be very interested if she could actually come up with a plan where she says, this is how I would like to step out of being the world police. And Hannah and I have talked about this. Again, we've done more than one episode having this same conversation where Why is the U.S. the world police? Why do we accept this? And, part of, okay, fine. It's the money.
And power, man. Money and power.
There you go. Money and power.
Money and power.
And, I think the big thing here is when we look at these outsider candidates, if she's going to check a few of them, she's younger.
Mm-hmm.
She's younger. She doesn't have the same track record Bernie has, but she is younger. So she also checks the box of, is she an informed individual? And again, this is where I want to get into the discussion of where Hillary attacked her, right? Because what did she do? Right. One of the big things that she did is she stepped back and said, hey, I don't want to be part of the DNC. I support Bernie. A couple of years ago. Yep. Right. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big. I mean, she sacrificed her personal gain for somebody else.
Her political career. She was the darling of the DNC.
Yeah.
She won one re-election. Then all of a sudden, vice chair. Nothing suspicious about that.
Exactly.
Identity politics 101. She's a minority female. Period. That's all they wanted from her.
Yeah, and there's a political article that actually talks about this because she trashed the Democratic Party by saying, not the party that is of, by, and for the people. They are trafficking in lies and smearing innuendos. That's crazy, right? And this is where Hillary Clinton essentially said that she's the favorite of the Russians, which is crazy to me because why would Hillary attack a candidate that's barely even making it into the debates? She missed the debate, didn't she? I think she missed the debate.
She missed one debate earlier, like the third one, I think. But she's in the last two.
And so, and again, I'm not recommending this article because I agree with it. I'm recommending this article because it actually talks about something that a lot of people have ignored. If you want to address this, let's actually address looking at, what she said, what she's done. And, essentially, they're saying that the Trump war room is tweeting out videos of her saying 100% we agree with her. The DNC is corrupt. Now, Boyce, you tell me, do you honestly believe that the DNC or that Trump is tweeting this out because he actually believes the DNC is corrupt? Or do you think that they're doing this as a way to draw attention away from other contenders and try to sow dissension?
Well, it's divide and conquer, period.
Okay.
Just plain and simple, just trying to divide and conquer. And what the establishment wants is an establishment candidate that will fall in line and keep things status quo. All about getting rid of Trump, all about trying to lock him up or whatever. And just these silly little, it doesn't change what the hell's going on, So they want Amy Klobuchar. If you haven't noticed, they've been pushing her a lot, and Pete. I think they've given up on Biden because he's kind of a fucking train wreck. He's busting blood vessels on the debate stage while he's talking, and it's confused and weird, Yeah,
because what kind of candidates do we have he's debating against now? I mean, look this year compared to 3 years ago. Yeah. Who's debating differently?
Yeah.
It's a completely different, stream, and again, people can criticize Bernie all they want, but to some extent, Bernie has been very anti-establishment throughout most of his career. Again, I will say that I feel he's moved closer to towing that line, and maybe Tulsi is moving farther away. And it's funny, you criticized me, I don't know, on your show, I don't know, maybe it was like a month ago. I think we had this discussion because I've attacked Tulsi because of her past.
Yeah.
Because of her, meeting with the Syrian president, because of her anti-LGBT stance. But after this week and actually having to sit down and go through some of this, I will admit that I am changing a little bit more of my stance on her. And I consider her a I don't know, it almost feels a little bit better for me, especially and I'm saying I'm the guy over here that's pretty far left. I kind of like that anarchist attitude she has.
And she is left. She's left of center.
Oh, yeah. A lot more than a lot of people are.
She's a progressive candidate. And people want to act like especially the establishment wants her to become this Russian asset bullshit, innuendos and smoke and mirrors. It's because they're scared, man. Because she will literally, she's like Bernie. She'll kick the door down, and be like, "All right, guys, guess what? The people have spoken. We're gonna change some shit around here." That's why I like her, because she's not scared of shit, man. I love the fact that she don't care. She'll come out like when Kamala she challenged Kamala at the last debate, and Kamala wanted to bring up Assad and tap dance. Then she's like, you notice that she didn't answer the question. I like that. I asked her a question and she wants to go personal attack, not policy, debate the policy, which I really like that about her. So, but I like Andrew's comment. Yang is a dreamer who cannot do basic math. That's funny.
Yeah,
like
it fits your picture there, buddy, or mathematician.
Kind of well, considering he's kind of a math guy, it's just funny. But yeah, I like Corey's comment too. People are fed up with Trump. But if the DNC puts someone crazy in there, it might give him more electability for Trump, which is unheard of.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I don't think that was the case before, right? I do think choosing Hillary over Bernie was a mistake, personally.
Obvious.
And I don't know if Bernie would have had better wins. And it's kind of funny because on my Facebook page, there was a lot of dissension then. Like a lot of people were like, well, screw you, stop being a Bernie bro and vote for Hillary. And it's like, oh, I did, and it didn't work. And I'm not saying, again, I wouldn't still vote for who I have to vote for to get the DNC in office, to get rid of them. But at this point, we now have the power. We have the power right now to give the best candidate we can. And again, we could talk. And this has been an ongoing question. And how do we put the DNC to some extent back in power without giving them complete control? And I've said this on the show more than one time.
Yep.
I don't know how else to say this. How do we do that?
Yep, a progressive candidate.
Is Tulsi the best progressive candidate to merge the two sides?
I don't think so, but I think she's up there. She's one that could. Let's put it that way. She has I believe she has the potential.
Yeah. And that's kind of funny because that article was talking about, all she does is push and, go after the libertarian leaning voters. And to some extent, would I like UBI? Would I like, Medicare for all? Would I like all these other things? Absolutely. But if she promises to not go after, humanitarian rights issues inside of America and support everything else, that's step one to getting Medicare for all, UBI, higher, higher wages for people, better immigration policies. And I don't know how else to say it. If that's what it takes, she has my vote.
Yeah, and what that is, it just becomes incrementalism. We can't get the whole ball of wax at once like Bernie wants to do. Like, I'm going to change everything today. We're going to just completely change the game. And her candidacy is kind of a step in that direction. And so is Yang. He doesn't go all in like Bernie does, but he has incremental plans, I guess you say, to match up there eventually. But to me, my dream ticket right now would be Bernie, Yang, and Tulsi in the final three. We win. One way or another, we win. I'm not a big fan of Warren. I think she's had too many sit downs with the corporate people, and I think she's a little bit phony baloney, and she is all prepared speeches. When you ask her something on the spot, she can't answer it. The biggest thing that was a red flag is when they asked her about Joe Biden's son. Do you think the vice president of the United States' son should get a job on a board over in a foreign country? And she's like, no. Well, let me think about that. And then she backtracked all that shit, and she couldn't even answer the question. I was like, really? That really triggered me. I'm like, what? And then they asked Yang. He goes, no, they shouldn't be. Period. Nope. That's it. End of story. That's my answer. No thought needed. There's a position. It's morally corrupt to have your son or daughter get a job on an oil company board. You know?
Exactly.
Answer the damn question. That's all I gotta
Answer
say.
the question.
How hard
That's all we want, folks, right? is how do we answer the questions? How do we hold people accountable? You know, how do we make it so that everybody has to have a conversation? I don't know. And I think, I'll be honest, I've been very critical of Tulsi, and my big thing now is going to be going back and doing more research, right? I need to find out, is there something hidden that I don't know about? Is there something I want to, address that I haven't addressed? Is there something I missed? Because I almost feel a little bit more comfortable with her than I do Andrew Yang. No offense, boys, but only for the pure fact that she's looking to address anti-interventionalist policies, which have been something I've been preaching for a long time.
Well, you can read Yang's policies on that too. It's pretty similar.
I agree with you, but that's not his leading policy, though.
No.
Yep. And we covered that a couple weeks ago. So if you want to go back to Cellar Door Skeptics episode 195, 3 episodes ago, we actually examined Yang in full. Yeah, we did. And I gave him a shot. And I don't disagree with you. I mean, honestly, when we get down to it, there is a lot of really good candidates, to some extent, that are popping up that we haven't had before. And so I don't know, it's a hard decision sometimes, and the other times it's not a hard decision. But I think Tulsi has jumped up quite a bit for me as an individual, and she'll be somebody I'll be considering a lot more seriously than I had in the past.
Well, that's why the Yang supporters are about 50-50. Half of us would like to see Tulsi as the VP. She can handle foreign relations, and Yang will do the domestic.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Make sure, boys, it's been great. It's been a great episode. Thank you for joining me tonight. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you're going to be doing next week.
Well, you can find me on Mindful Skeptics podcast on my YouTube channel and Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. They're all the same, Mindful Skeptics. And I'm going to be going to Chicago to cover the Andrew Yang rally on Thursday and some fundraisers he's going to have going on that night. Then we're going to start the weekend, baby.
There you go.
And also, happy December 1st for recreational sales of marijuana in Michigan.
That is true. As I sit here and drink scotch, but scotch is good, buddy. You're missing out. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode.